Good morning and welcome to Spirit-Filled Warrior Ministries. Today we are going to talk about pride and the destruction that it causes in people's lives. First, we're going to start off with scripture. I'm going to read a couple of scriptures that talks about pride, and a lot of the scriptures is going to come from Proverbs. So the first one is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 2. And it says, when pride comes, then comes dishonor. But with the humble is wisdom. Okay? So it says, when pride comes, then comes dishonor. Okay? So basically it's telling us that whenever one has a pride in them, they are being dishonorable. Because pride causes a lot of destruction. And we're going to go further into that on how pride causes destruction. Okay? So now let's go to Proverbs 29. So that's Proverbs 29, verse 23. And it says, a man's pride will bring him low, but a humble spirit will obtain honor. Okay, so it's basically saying the same thing again. How pride brings a person down, how it makes them dishonorable. So we're seeing now that, that pride is not a very good thing in a person. Okay, now let's go to Proverbs chapter 16, verse 18. And it says, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before stumbling. Same thing. We have a pattern going on here. And you see it's being repeated in the book of Proverbs. Okay? Proverbs usually gives you wisdom. Okay? And we're going to go to Proverbs 16:5. And let's see what it says. Everyone who is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Oh, that's not good. Assuredly, he will not be unpunished. So it shows that you will be punished. God does not take very kindly to a person that has a prideful spirit. Okay? And now let's go to James. And that's James chapter 4, verse 6. James 4:6. And it says, but he gives a greater grace. Therefore, it says, God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And you see the people who are in humility, he gives grace to them. People who are proud, that's full of pride, that's an abomination. So that goes against God. He's not for that with all that pride. Okay? And now we're going to go to the last one, which is 1 John chapter 2, verse 16. And it says, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the boastful pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. Okay, you guys. The world seems like pride is an okay thing. It's okay to be boastful. It's okay to be prideful. But that is not so. That goes against God's word. He doesn't like when a person is proud. He doesn't like that. Because see, when you are full of pride, you are basically saying like you your own God, you could do whatever you want to do, that you don't have to answer to anybody because it's your doing. You're doing things on your time, on your power, on your might. But see, we can't do anything apart from God. That's why it's a problem with pride. Because when you're being prideful, you are just dismissing God. And you're saying that you're in charge of everything. So he leave you to that, to your pride. And once you be all up in your pride, be drunk off of pride, then guess what? He lets you to it, and guess what? You end up falling. And we're going to go further in that, go further into that as well. Okay? But next, what I want to do is we're going to go over some examples of people in the Bible who were full of pride. They were so full of themselves. They were blinded with pride. Okay? So first one on the list is Satan. Satan is like, it started with him, this whole pride thing. He was the one that he was so prideful, that pride got him kicked out of heaven. See, Satan before, was an angel, beautiful angel, adorned with jewels, okay? The most beautiful one. God made him perfect, okay? And because of his pride, he wanted to go above God. He wanted to be a God. He wanted to, just rise above God and pretty much be his own boss. So guess what? He got kicked out of heaven. How many of y'all, would say it's only one man of the house, or it's only one woman of the house, because nobody is not going to go above you right in your own house. So that's the same thing with God. Like, how dare you, Satan? You gonna sit up here? I created you to be the most beautiful angel, and you're gonna go against me and try to go above me? No, it ain't gonna go down like that. So therefore, that's why he got kicked out of heaven. Okay? All right. So now let's go to, and one more thing, because I have scripture on this too. If any of you want scriptures on, Satan and how he got kicked out of heaven, you could read Isaiah, and that's chapter 14, verses 12 through 14. And then there's also Ezekiel 28, verses 12 through 18. So I'm going to leave you guys to read for yourself, okay? Okay. Next person on the list will be King Nebuchadnezzar. He was the king of, the Assyrians. And King Nebuchadnezzar, you will find this in the book of Daniel. And it'll be chapters 1 through 4. Book of Daniel, chapters 1 through 4. And so King Nebuchadnezzar was a great king that he had pretty much everything, almost all the lands or the countries under his possession, where they answered to him. He had a big, great kingdom, okay, that he ruled. And the Jews, the people of Israel, they had to come under his subjection, okay? Like when the Jews got exiled, they were under his kingdom, okay? So he took a lot of people kingdoms, okay? So that's why I was saying that, his rule was great over almost the whole nation in that area, okay, in that time. And so he became so prideful because he had everything, and he, God allowed him to have that power, to rule over so many nations. And so it went to his head. He became prideful, and he didn't want to have anything to do with God because he felt like he was God. He didn't created his own little, statue, where people had to, pray to that statue, to that idol. And that didn't sit too well with God. So guess what? Because of his pride, he fell and he lost his mind. He became like a beast. Like he was literally like acting like an animal, outside, crawling around like an animal, fingernails long, hair long, wasn't taking no bath, nothing. He was living literally like an animal in the wild. Because God was like, okay, you know what? I'll leave you to your pride. So, you know what? Satan, have at it. And that's how it was. He became like an animal. So it's because of his pride why that happened. Okay, so now let's move. Third one on the list is Pharaoh. So we already know in the book of Exodus, and that'll be chapter 5 through 14, how it tells us how prideful and stubborn the Pharaoh was of Egypt. He was so full of pride because he felt like he is all-powerful Pharaoh, and you do as I tell you. And how dare this God tell me, that I need to let his people go? And these people under my rule, they're under my command. No, they're God's people. So you must obey because he's the creator. He created you. So how dare you sit there and just say no to God? I mean, really? These people trip me out. Like, reading this would trip you out. Like, how dare you go against God? You can't do it. Nobody cannot go against him. Satan can even go against him. Okay, so the fourth one on the list would be Saul. And not King Saul. That was the first king of Israel. But it's Paul in the New Testament. Before he was called Paul, his name was Saul. That was his original name. But when he was called Saul before he came to Christ, he was persecuting the Christians. And you will find this in the book of Acts, and it's chapter 8 through 9. He was like tripping, okay? He wanted to, persecute the Christians, having them thrown in jail, having them, murdered, okay? He was like the instigator in all of this. Always, trying to go and find out where these Christians is hiding out at so that he could have them thrown in jail or beheaded or whatever. Okay? He was like the worst. But guess what? On his way to Damascus, he found out who Jesus is. So that's another person that was full of pride. His pride was that he felt like he was better than the Christians. He was just so prideful. Like, they're not going to be just like us. They're not going to, worship the way that we worship. They keep talking about this Jesus. So he was like, in his pride, he wanted to have the Christians, persecuted. But isn't that something? Even though he had the Christians persecuted at that time, there was grace upon him. Jesus came to him and he submitted himself to Jesus. And see, Jesus is not like the rest of us, how when a person do that, you kill someone I love, I'm done with you. You need to die. No, there was grace. Jesus had mercy on him. And he revealed himself to Paul. But he was Saul at that time. Okay? Last one is Haman. Haman, you can read the story of Haman in the book of Esther. So Haman had this position, a high position, with the king. And he wanted to basically have all the Jews killed. And the one specific Jew he didn't like was Mordecai, which was Esther's uncle. And so he got mad at Mordecai because Mordecai didn't bow down to him like everybody else. So he got upset by that. So therefore he plotted to have Mordecai killed, and then he wanted to have the rest of the Jews killed. Okay? So read the book of Esther. That's another good book. It's like, we sit up here and we read stories with other books, and we enjoy them, and we could read them for days. But they have some really awesome stories in the Bible. It's like you sitting up there reading any other book, but when you're reading the Bible, it teaches you about our God and who He is, and the wonderful things that He does in these stories. But I don't want to get off topic. But anyway, so yeah, Haman was prideful because he felt like, and I know y'all seen people like that, they got these high positions and they feel like you supposed to kiss their behinds. And if you don't, they get upset and they want to dismiss you. They want to cause problems with you. That's pride. So each one of them had this type of pride. Satan wanted to be the end all be all. Nebuchadnezzar was like, I'm powerful. I could do anything. I don't need God. I don't need nobody because I'm like God. Then we have Pharaoh. He was so stubborn in his pride that he's like, I'm not going to budge. I do whatever. Nobody can tell me to do anything. That's prideful. Then you have Saul, through his pride, because, and y'all know they got people like that. They not like me. So if they not like us, then you know what? We going to do something to them to make them submit to us and be like us. That was his pride. And then we have Haman, because he got this position. He feel like everybody's supposed to kiss his behind. So see, there is so many ways that people be prideful. But let's see what pride does. Pride will make you fall. Just like he did with Satan fell from heaven. Nebuchadnezzar fell from his position and became like an animal. Pharaoh, we already know what happened to him. You know what I'm saying? Because of his, pride. Look what happened when Moses closed up the Red Sea through the power of God. With Saul, he became blind when he heard, when Jesus started talking to him, and he fell down and worshiped him. But his fall wasn't, what I'm saying? He didn't actually fall because God gave him grace. So I guess with Paul, we can't really say that he really failed, because he ended up, God gave him, it was grace that was upon him. And remember, Paul was like going hard, preaching the gospel. Like really, he was going hard. And Haman, his fall was he came to an end because he ended up dying. He got, killed because of what he was trying to do. Okay. So, people fall, and how many people, they be so prideful, be full of pride, and then they end up losing everything. And then, a lot of times when they lose stuff, they can't take it. Some of them kill themselves, or they become depressed, or they, they just, they become ashamed and don't want to be bothered with anyone because, they so full of pride, they don't want no one to see them down. Okay. And another thing what pride does, it blinds a person. This people will be so blind with pride. You very rarely see a person that is like, oh, look how I'm acting. I shouldn't be acting like this. A lot of times something has to happen to let them see, okay, yeah, I was very prideful. I was very boastful. Something has to happen and the reason why something has to happen is because they be so blinded with pride. So blind. They see nothing else. They're like spiritually blind with pride. And another thing, pride. Pride could also lead to violence and murder, just like with Haman. Haman wanted to kill Mordecai and the rest of the Jews. He wanted them gone. So, come on now. Like, seriously? How is it that you could be so prideful that you want to kill somebody? Because they're blinded by it. They're so full of it, they're drunk with pride that they don't see anything else. Okay? It could also make a person want to steal things. It makes them do so much that it just, as you can see, now you see why it's an abomination to God. Why, when a person is so full of pride, they end up falling? Because look what it does. Look what pride does. It destroys that person. And it could also destroy the people around them because of their pride. It's no way that anyone would be able to just get away with being prideful. You will have to pay for what you did, for that pride in you. We've seen pastors full of pride because the congregation come to them, and they just, it goes to their head. And you know that the ones in ministry, we're the ones that's going to be judged stricter than anyone. We have a stricter judgment. So that's a very dangerous thing. You got to lead people, the flock, to God, not to yourself. And they get so full of themselves. And they see themselves as powerful. Because these people are coming to them. So it's like they're being seen like God. And these people are looking up to them instead of looking up to God. That's a very dangerous thing. So that's pretty much it. I just, wanted to go over this spirit of pride, that it runs strong in this world, and it is not a very good thing. And during the week, I had an experience with someone who was full of pride. So I was like, wow, this would be a good message, for today's video, because, that's a very dangerous thing. And there's people who are prideful that I seen think, what happened to Nebuchadnezzar, that end up happening to them. I mean, they might not be like a beast, but they end up losing their mind. And it's really strong when it's deeply rooted in you, like through a generational curse. That person need deliverance, because it runs so strong in them. It's deep in them. It's deeply rooted in them. That is not a good thing, because guess what, brothers and sisters, we cannot do anything apart from God. We need him. We can't just say, oh, I got this on my own. I'm independent. Can't nobody say that they did this for me, or that. If God was to take his hand off of you, that's it. You wouldn't have those things anymore. That job you got is because of him. That house you got is because of him. That car you got is because of him. You breathing because of him. We can't even breathe apart from him. So don't think that everything that you do, you're doing yourself because you've grown and nobody can tell you anything. You can't do anything apart from him. So don't get it twisted. We can do nothing. He is our life support. Okay? So you all, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. Please feel free to share this video with others so that they can see and understand the dangers of being a prideful person. Okay? If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the like button. I love you all. God bless. And I keep forgetting one more thing. If you have any comments, any prayer requests, please write them down in the comment section. and I will get to them as soon as I can. Again, I love you all. God bless, and take care of yourselves.